I was just thinking, I'm lucky that when I started teaching, they were doing away with blackboards because I can't even touch chalk. That shit, like,
Oh,
ugh, I hate the way that feels.
yeah. Depending on the angle of the chalk, I know what you mean. But for the most part, I was good with chalkboards.
No,
Oh man,
man.
even thinking about it kind of gets me a little,
I know, I know. I feel like, have you ever seen that scene? Have you ever seen, yo, man, I'm telling you, they put stuff in grass in Pennsylvania because after I cut grass, my brain goes fucking, I don't know where. But what the
But
hell? American History X. Have you ever seen American History X?
I've seen bits of it.
Well, there's a famous scene in American History X when Edward Norton's character, the Nazi guy, beats up a black guy and then he makes him bite the curb and then he stomps on his head. Do you remember that part? Yeah, it's pretty aggressive. That's how I feel like when I hear chalk, like a chalkboard. Like I feel it in my teeth for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I wouldn't say.
What's up, everybody? This is the Welcome to the Show podcast brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a 30-day free trial and a free audiobook download. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. CT, what's good?
Hi, Manuel.
Wow, full name there. The respect. The respect is
What's
real.
up? What's up?
I'm good, man. I'm all right. I'm good.
Real good, huh? Feels good, right? The Yankees are rolling along. Feels good, doesn't it, to be on the other side?
I mean, 17-11, 8 out of the last 10 games on basically with the right hand tied around their back and limping. I mean, I can't complain.
It's truly, truly magical. You would almost say that some guys are having career years.
I would say that. I would say that Gio Urshela has been, or Urshela, however you say his name, I don't care. Sue me.
Yeah.
Is having a career year because he is, for now. I would say
I was
that
kidding. I was kidding, by the way. I was kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm not taking away credit from the Yankees. It's fun, but it's crazy how what 1 year does, because I think the Yankees' worst baseball was in April of last year, right? I think, but I don't remember them being as bad as the Red Sox were. We're to the point that we're seven games back of first place. And
toward the end of the year, the Yankees were kind of sucking a little bit.
Well, yeah, but that's when you guys also, towards the end, you started beating up on the Red Sox a little bit too. So you kind of went into the postseason with a little bit of momentum.
A little bit, but
tiny bit of momentum.
Yeah, right. Just a little, not enough to get past the first round. But we don't need to discuss what happened in the past, CT. Let's discuss what's going to happen in the future, because today before we get into today, let's talk about the future, as in on Thursday, part 2 of the Nick Francona interview will be out. In that episode, you're going to hear about some of the things that Nick Francona uncovered while he was working with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Some of the shady practices that was going on there with the international signing, and some other stuff that happened while he was with the New York Mets. Then on Friday, hopefully, we're going to interview George Stechko. I hope I pronounce his last name properly. When we talk to him, I'll make sure I got the proper pronunciation. But anyway, he was a retired 31-year veteran of the FBI who was in charge of Operation Equine, which exposed steroid abuse in baseball as early as the 1980s. So we're going to take you to the 1980s, early 1990s, where the FBI actually informed Major League Baseball about steroid abuse happening in Major League Baseball. And as we know, what did Major League Baseball do, CT? Nothing. And we got, I'm kind of glad they did nothing, because I wouldn't have had 1998 with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. But you could just see some of the hypocrisy that has gone on in Major League Baseball, and some of the shit that we're trying to put out there into the world so that we can fix the game that we love. Make baseball great again, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think Make Baseball Great Again might actually be in the other direction. Let these guys take steroids since, that was the greatest time of baseball.
Yeah, right. That was the golden era. Just like it could be. I know you never saw The Wire, but it could be like Amsterdam. Like in this right here, as long as you're inside the stadium, you can inject yourself with whatever the hell you want to inject yourself with. Little Wire reference. So CT. Since I totally lost you with that reference.
Yeah, because I've never watched The Wire, but I'm going to. Once Game of Thrones finishes, I think I could finally take on another show, and I think The Wire is a good one.
Okay, so since we're talking about HBO shows, let's jump into really quick the Game of Thrones. All right, so we're gonna do this every week until Game of Thrones is over, which I think it's gonna be over in a couple of weeks, so it won't last that long. But I want you, a Game of Thrones enthusiast, to try to convince me, a Game of Thrones adversary, even though I'm not really an adversary, I just don't watch the show, to try to convince me to watch the show by reviewing the latest episode. And if you do spoilers, we just have to make sure we add that to the episode description so we don't piss anybody off.
Yeah.
So go ahead, CT.
If we're doing an episode review, there probably are going to be spoilers, so skip ahead. I don't even know how we would mark this, but skip ahead to not just hear these spoilers.
Just refer
real quick. So you go ahead, Manny. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just refer to the episode description, and it'll tell you when this segment is going to end. If you haven't noticed lately, we've been putting the time that each segment begins. So if you don't want to hear what happens in Game of Thrones, I could give two shits because I don't watch the show. That's kind of the idea of this segment. Then just skip ahead.
Well, that's the thing. If I spoil it, you're not, by the time that you finally do come around to watch Game of Thrones, you're probably not going to remember what I'm telling you anyways. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you're definitely going to know a couple characters that are not going to die anytime soon. So
I don't think it matters because there's in the one episode that I watch, there's so many goddamn characters that I can't keep them straight in my head anyway. So yeah, by the time this season comes along, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a clusterfuck of characters in my forehead that I'm not going to be able to keep straight.
Well, real quick, I mean, you mentioned HBO shows before. Have you ever watched an HBO show that you were disappointed in?
That's funny, man. I can't think of one off the top of my head, no.
Can you think of any that are off the charts that you would recommend if you were like, wow, you have to watch this show because it's good?
Well, for me, that's The Wire in terms of HBO shows.
Is that the only one?
Maybe The Sopranos, too.
Maybe The Sopranos.
Well, the thing about The Sopranos is, and we have a bias in this. So, yes, we were both born in New York City. Yes, for the most part, you grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in New York. I moved to New Jersey at the same time that they were filming The Sopranos. And not only was it the same time that they were filming The Sopranos, they were filming the goddamn show in my town in New Jersey. So when you walk, and in North Arlington, so when you walk past, I think it was St. Cecilia's on Ridge Road. If you're from Kearney, New Jersey, you know what I'm talking about. If you're from every other place in the world, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But where Satrial's is, that's literally like, I would say like a 5-minute walk from where my high school was. Pizza Land, which you'll see in the opening credits, was behind the house that I lived in for a few years while I was in high school. So like, in that sense, like I remember watching the show and be like, oh, I recognize that. I recognize this. I know what this is. I know what that is. But for me, The Wire goes above The Sopranos, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, all right. So I don't really care when there's a big hype about something. I'm not I don't just run it. It took me, I think I started watching Game of Thrones when it was already on season 5 or 6. But I'm all caught up. And last episode, I think you would appreciate Game of Thrones because, yeah, there's a lot of characters, but they really take their time. They don't just throw a character at you and,
Are you sure? Because in episode 1, they sure did.
Well, that's episode 1, obviously. Every character is a character that's thrown.
But I mean, like, if you're gonna make love to a woman, let's say, you take it slow, right? You just want to get to, you don't want to just hit the home run right away. You want to, get a little bit of first base, a little bit of second base, a little bit of third, and then you hit the home run. But in Game of Thrones, it's like, here you go, guys, boom, like, I'm just gonna fuck you in the ass right here. Wow, that was aggressive.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is that it starts right when everything starts. Like that first episode is what sets up the rest of the entire series. Like,
yeah.
There's significant points in that episode, which is why all those characters had to be there because it's all related. And yeah, they really take their time developing these characters, and it does suck when one of them finally does die, one that you care about. But it's also satisfying when they finally kill off, an evil person. And this last episode was a great ass episode. I was actually freaking out watching it the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was actually freaking out watching it the whole time because it was just the craziest battle that I've ever seen, I think, because I know what was at stake. So it was a crazy ass battle. And the only thing I didn't like was that there's this, you're not going to know what I'm talking about, but the White Walker, the Night King, he's called the Night King on the show. His death was like kind of easy in terms of how it ended up being. I'm happy he's gone. But I just felt like the build-up for him was just too big. Like, the shit that he did during the series, you only got to see him a couple times. He's like this almighty powerful character, and then his death came by the hands of a girl, like a little... I don't know how old she is. She must be like 15 in the show.
It was like a lazy departure?
No, it wasn't lazy by any stretch of the imagination. Take that phrase. It's just... I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like... You probably never watched Dragon Ball Z growing up.
Nope.
They go overboard. When it comes to the boss battle and the main character, it's overboard. It'll be like, we have 5 minutes to finish this battle, but it goes on for like 20 episodes, right? I was expecting at least a 2-part episode for this guy's like battle, kind of, is what I'm saying. But in a way, I'm kind of happy because, again, it was really, freaky. I was freaking out watching the episode to begin with. And yeah, the only other thing I didn't like as well is that these characters just keep getting put through hell and they just keep surviving, like all these, main characters, which is cool. But
so I'm still so
it's hard to convince you. It's hard to convince you on season 8, episode 3, when you haven't watched any of the show, because I don't know. I just don't know how to convince you, man.
All right. Okay. Well. So this White Walker, why is he such a bad guy? Seems like a nice dude. Nice name.
So the White Walkers are like zombies, kind of, but they're, I guess made of ice. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot to explain. I'm sorry, man. But why can't you just watch? Take my word for it, and by season 2 you'll like it.
Okay, I mean, sure, fine, all right.
And have you ever cried in a movie before or a show?
No.
I really have never.
I have, yeah.
Okay, I've never. Okay, you have. I haven't. I was close to crying in about 2 episodes of this show, in the entire show. That's a big deal. I only ever almost cried in Armageddon, the movie. When Bruce Willis dies. I really almost cried there, like that whole scene where he's talking to his daughter. But the day that I watched that, I was at home. I was like in high school and I was sick, so I was like on medicine and stuff.
Yeah, sure, that was it. It was medicine. I cried. So I'm gonna admit this, although I should be ashamed of it. I have a full explanation for why this happened. So when our this is gonna take a dark turn here for a second. Just bear with me for a few minutes. When our grandmother passed away, me and my wife had come back. Did my wife go to DR? No, she didn't. I went to DR, came back, and like a week later, we watched The Notebook. I had never watched that movie before. Have you ever watched The Notebook?
No, and I don't plan on watching it.
I would give it a good 10 years, from now. Because of our most recent death in our family, it's too fresh in our memories. But anyway, it deals with an old couple who are in love, and there's like memory loss involved, which hits home. I literally cried like a baby to the point like when me and my wife like think about it, we start cracking up because it was like it was like you can't like you remember when you were a kid and you would cry really hard and you just like couldn't even talk and the words came out funny and everything was just like fucked up. It was that kind of crying. Like I haven't cried like that in like probably 25 years. It was fucking nuts. But
damn,
that's out there in the world now forever.
You can't take that back.
Nah, unless you edit it out. But Yeah. So all right, I'm gonna. So
let me bring this back. Let me bring this back.
Yes, please. Bring it back for us, please.
Listen, if you like the way things look when they film, like if you like the way things are directed and the way they're edited and everything, you would love Game of Thrones, because every time I watch that show, I just think to myself, like, where the hell and how the hell did they film this type of shit?
Well, it's all CGI, isn't it?
No, the dragons are CGI, and maybe like the millions of army men in the background are CGI, but for the most part, I think they're out there in like Greenland or something.
In the Earth, yeah. Well, I know that. So okay, so the show, the movie or show or whatever that I compare the most to Game of Thrones, and I've never watched Game of Thrones. So I mean, I watched one episode. Is The Lord of the Rings, and I actually liked those movies, because I remember reading the books in high school and stuff like that. And even that, like today, I don't think I would rewatch those movies. It was just too much. It was just too many characters, too many places. Too many of this, even the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, I haven't really caught up. I haven't bothered to keep up with the Avengers. It's just too much, and I really don't care about it at this point. I mean, but that's another story. I've never watched Lord of the Rings, but I've always heard that that's like one of the best trilogies.
It is. I remember watching it in the moment, and I thought I wasn't gonna like it, and I loved it, and I was like obsessed with it. Like first day it came out at the movies, I went to go see it. Like that kind of obsession. So, all right. So I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. Let's continue with these reviews on a weekly basis, and let's see if you could do a better job at convincing me. Because today, CT, you did a shitty job.
I mean, okay, whatever. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Sticking with entertainment, I want to. So before we started recording, I asked you if you had ever watched the Fyre Festival documentaries. There's one on Netflix and one on Hulu. I've been piecemealing them together. Like if my wife happens to go to bed earlier than I do, I'll put it on and I'll watch like a half hour of it at a time or whatever, which is kind of dorky in a way. But I like while I'm editing some work or something, I'll have it on in the background. So. There's one on Hulu and there's one on Netflix. I didn't watch the one on Hulu yet, but the one on Netflix. The Fyre Festival was about this dude who is somewhat of an entrepreneur, and he's from New Jersey, and he befriends Ja Rule, and him and Ja Rule come up with this plan to make like this amazing festival in an island by Bermuda, I think it is. And they book like a bunch of artists. It's a documentary, so there's no such thing as spoilers in documentaries. But you have to watch it to see how they concocted this plan and what an epic fail it was.
Yeah, because isn't this related to when Ja Rule went to the NBA, that one NBA game, and nobody was cheering for him?
Yeah, well, I think people hated him after that because they put in like millions of dollars of work into this thing, or pretended to, and were getting investors to pay them money and stuff like that, book talent and stuff like this, and didn't pull through. So you had all, like hundreds of thousands, hundreds of people, thousands of people coming to this small island expecting to like stay in a cabana or whatever with a nice bed and air conditioning, but instead they arrived to like tents. And their luggage didn't arrive until the middle of the night. And there was, the artists started to pull out, and they ran out of money. And there was like no food, no water. They were like trapped on this island. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's one of the dopest documentaries I've ever, watched in terms of like how crazy the story was. Like Screwball was amazing because of how insane, every twist here and there was a twist coming. With Fyre Festival, you knew what the ending was, but just how they got to the ending, you're just like, holy shit! Like, what's wrong with these people? And not only that, it delves even deeper, because the way that they fleeced all these people into coming to this festival was through social media. They were like social media geniuses, and they made you just feel like if you're not at this festival, you're gonna miss out on the greatest event of all time or whatever. But it was a crock of shit. It was all bullshit. You know what I mean? And
that's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, it just shows you how social media can be used to manipulate people on like a whole new level. And it's something like my wife and I talk about all the time, how like people only post shit on social media that looks good and makes you like, they post their food or whatever. What's the point of that? It's to say like, oh, this is what I'm eating tonight. You know what I mean? What are you eating?
Yeah, I kind of don't even. I rarely post stuff on social media. I upload stuff to the live story sometimes because I'm like, what the hell am I using this for if I'm not gonna upload something? But I'm seriously considering deleting it.
Yeah, I mean,
for a little bit.
For a small, I'm gonna call us a small business like ours, social media is essential to our promotion because we can't afford big time commercials like some of these other people can, and we're not a part of Barstool Sports or any of these big companies or whatever yet.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on social media, but I mean, I'm trying to remember. Have we ever like pretended like we were somewhere that we weren't, or like that we were putting something out there that we actually aren't putting out there? You know what I mean?
No, not that I know of, not intentionally at least.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what social media is built for. And if you look at the most successful social media people, there's a form of manipulation there. Like nobody's life is that, perfect. Even this Kylie Jenner chick, whoever the fuck she is, that has millions of followers on social media. Like there's some drama there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And but I think, I just think people stop using common sense.
Yeah, right.
I think common sense kind of got lost over the years, and I've always hated social media for that reason because I'm like, it's everyone doing the same shit,
right?
And people buy into it, kind of,
Yeah, and comment. That was the perfect way to sum up the Fyre Festival documentaries. Again, one on Netflix, one on Hulu. It's people lose their common sense. There were kids, like college age kids, or kids in their 20s, or who are starting their careers and maybe have a few extra $1,000 to spend, and they're spending $5,000 to go to this deserted island that apparently was Pablo Escobar's island or whatever. To this festival that for why go somewhere? You know what I mean? Like you just listen to the music on your fucking iPad and go on with your life. I don't know.
I never heard of that, but I'm definitely gonna check it out now that you've mentioned it.
It's good, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's all I gotta say. It's crazy. All right, and then the last thing on the entertainment. We're talking a lot of entertainment today. We haven't even gotten to baseball yet. But John Singleton had a stroke a couple of weeks ago, and he was put on life support. And yesterday, his family put out that they were going to take him off of life support, and he has officially passed away. And I wanted to dedicate some time to John Singleton because he was very influential for me. I know that I'm not a successful filmmaker, and that our podcast is still up, is on the come up still. It's not where we want it to be exactly yet, but we're getting there. But in terms of the movies that I love and that I grew up watching, John Singleton was super influential. I remember watching Boys in the Hood for the first time like it was yesterday, and watching Cuba Gooding Jr. For me, it was the first time I had ever seen him. And Lawrence Fishburne as his father, and Ice Cube. For me, Ice Cube was a rapper. That was the first time I saw him acting. And then in Poetic Justice with Tupac and Janet Jackson, that was another really good movie, underrated. And when my best friend and I, Gus, we really loved this movie more than the other three. Higher Learning, that was like one of our favorite movies, maybe because we were a little bit older at that time. But so he passed away, and we lost we lost a giant. Like, he was still young. There was still a lot to come from him, and it's unfortunate that he had to pass away. Now.
Yeah, super young, right? 51, I think it was. 50,
yeah.
In his 50s. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a movie buff like you are, because you like movies on another level, like how it's directed, how it's written, all that stuff. But I will say this: Boys in the Hood is probably I don't know a movie that. There's not too many movies that capture like what that movie was supposed to be about. If I'm making any sense, like that's the perfect West Coast, in the hood, Boys in the Hood type of movie, and I think it's just like a classic. Every time it's on, I have to watch it. Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies, so that's all I'm gonna say.
And it was the first of its kind, Like, I remember after Boys in the Hood came Fresh. I don't think John Singleton directed Fresh. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but it was a similar type movie. Like, it took place in the hood. It didn't glorify the hood. It's for me, it's kind of like the Martin Scorsese mob movies where people get like kind of, a lot of people say like, oh, they're glorifying violence and all this shit. That's not the point of it. Like, there's a culture there that they're trying to put out to you. And for me, that's what Boys in the Hood was. It was showing you the hood culture. It was Ice Cube was a gangster, a drug dealer, but he also wanted his brother. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. was his brother. I can't remember who he was in the movie.
Ice Cube's brother in the movie was I think they were cousins or best friends, but Ice Cube's brother in that movie was Ricky, the guy that dies. He was supposed to go on to play football or something.
Right. So anyway, he wanted him to succeed, and like that, when people go through the hood, a lot of times, they enter with skepticism, and they enter as if they're entering like this dimension where there's 100% guaranteed chance that there's going to be an act of violence. And in my experience, I know that I grew up in a section of Washington Heights that wasn't necessarily considered the hood. I was on the west side by J. Hood Wright Park. But I taught in Harlem. I had students when I was a social worker in some of the toughest parts of New Jersey, Irvington, East Orange, places like that. And anytime I entered, quote unquote, the hood, of course I felt scared and I felt intimidated, but I was never treated with any act of violence. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, some of these people welcomed me into their homes and were very nice to me and pleasant, and I view it as they're a victim of circumstances that's put upon them. This isn't how people want to live. You know what I'm saying? And they want to get out of this, but they're stuck. Like they can't get out of it. And for me, that's what Boys in the Hood depicted. It was this guy from the hood who's about to get out of it, and something happens to stop it from happening, and it's like devastating to the entire community. But yeah, so John Singleton, that was an awesome movie. Have you ever seen Higher Learning?
I think I have, but I would have to like refresh my memory with all that stuff. Boys in the Hood is the one movie that I stay watching when it's on, and there's always a time of the year where they keep showing it. It must be coming soon because I haven't seen Boys in the Hood on TV in a minute. But
well,
I love that movie.
Yeah, with John Singleton's passing, it looks like they're going to be playing some of his movies. I saw it before on. Here we go. On TV, they're playing Baby Boy tomorrow at 3:30 during the day. Who has time to watch that? And Poetic Justice at 6:30. So it looks like they're going to play some of his movies tomorrow. Poetic Justice is a really good movie. Baby Boy, I'm going to be honest, I never watched, but every time somebody talks about Baby Boy, they only have good things to say. So I might have to tune in. Maybe I'll DVR it or something like that.
Baby Boy, let me see.
That's what Tyrese.
I think I saw it, but I was also Boys in the Hood I've watched throughout my whole life, and I've learned to appreciate it as an adult. Baby Boy, I think I watched during that time, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I think so. I was like 10, at the time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I remember when Baby Boy came out. I think I was in high school, and I was already like a wannabe film snob or whatever. But clearly, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Because there was a lot of movies that came out in that time that I love that are trash, complete trash. But Baby Boy, I never watched, but every time that movie gets brought up often, and people only have good things to say about it. So, and I just never had a chance to watch it. So I'll give it a shot now. By the way, John Singleton discovered so many actors and actresses that are out there today, and then I'll stop talking about him. And we'll talk about some baseball because I think we're like more than 30 minutes in and we haven't even touched baseball. He discovered Taraji P. Henson, who was she in Empire?
Yeah, she's in Empire.
She's in Empire. Omar Epps. That's the first time I saw Omar Epps was in Higher Learning. Cuba Gooding Jr. is the first time I saw Cuba Gooding Jr. in a movie. Michael Rappaport in Higher Learning. He used a lot of rappers. Tupac was in his movies.
That had to be Ice Cube's first movie too, though, right?
I think Ice Cube, that was his first movie too, was Boys in the Hood, I believe. I'm not sure. He also had Busta Rhymes in Higher Learning. And that's the thing. These movies are really well made. Like, usually when you see like people in the music industry in movies, they kind of suck. Like, these movies are, for me, they were good. I thought they were really good movies and they were really well acted. And addressing the elephant in the room, they were dominantly black characters. And and they were amazing movies. Like, no offense to Tyler Perry, but his movies kind of annoy the shit out of me, and it's not because it's all black characters. I just don't like the stories. I don't like the way it's filmed. But John Singleton's movies are, to me, he's like the Scorsese of the African American, the black community. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
I said Tyler Perry before. That's what.
Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched a Tyler Perry movie beginning to end, honestly.
Yeah, like the Medea movies. I can't stand those fucking movies.
Yeah, Medea movies, I'm like, are we trying to do like Make Nutty Professor or something?
Like respect to him. I don't want to trash him because he clearly I think he's a billionaire, so he's doing something right. Let's discuss the New York Yankees. So over the last week, as I'm watching this team play, I fully realize that if the same squad that's on the field now is still the same squad that's playing in September, there's a good chance that we're probably not going to be going to the postseason. There's going to be at some point Gio Urshela, Tachman, who actually hasn't been that great. Ford, Tyro Estrada, these guys that were fielding on the field every day, that they're gonna eventually play to what they actually are, which is basically career minor leaguers. But so far, they've won 8 out of the last 10 games, and it's the young kids that are carrying this team. It's not it's not Brett Gardner. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
Although Luke Voigt too, but Luke Voigt is another one. They picked this guy out of the St. Louis Cardinals farm system, and look at him. I think he's the real. He's sold me. I think he's the real deal officially.
He's the player of the week.
Yeah, he's just. They remind me of the 2017 team. That's what I'm getting at here. Is that 2017 team was supposed to be a rebuild, and they made it to Game 7 of the ALCS. I know that Aaron Judge broke out that year. But if you remember, in 2016, Judge was called up in September in the September call-ups, and he was complete trash. Do you remember that?
I remember Judge homering on his first at-bat and then going back-to-back with Tyler Wade, I think, is what I remember. But I don't remember anything of like, wow, look at this look at this guy gets on base and he hits for power and all this stuff. I don't remember any of that talk when Judge first got called up.
No, man. In 2016, it was like a disaster. If you go back on Baseball Reference or Fangraphs, it'll solidify it. But he became the real deal. I remember Gary Sanchez the year before broke out, so that was to be expected. The year before that, Greg Bird, but then he's injured every year after that. But That's what this team is resembling. They're resembling the 2017 team, this current Yankee team. But like I said, by the same token, I'm kind of not a believer. I think it's just that these guys are all are hot at the same time, and I think any group of players, if they're hot at the same time, they're gonna win games. And to be fair, they're in the West Coast. They faced the San Francisco Giants. Who did they face before that? I can't remember.
Before the Giants, they were facing the Angels.
The Angels. So these aren't necessarily the best teams in baseball.
I know. But you beat the Red Sox in those 2 games before you went to the West Coast. So
but a win is a win, and the Yankees are winning more games on the road than they are at home, and we got to take these wins.
Yeah, the fact that they're winning these games on the roads is also like a crazy thing because usually they win most of their games at home, like every other team does. But you know how that is. You're right. I'm not buying into the Yankees with this same team that we're looking at now in September being anywhere near, playoff contention. I agree with you there. I'm not sold yet, but crazier things have happened, I guess.
Yeah.
A good thing is that your pitching is doing good. It's kind of like you haven't really missed a beat with the offense, and the pitching has been pitching great. Chad Green down to the minors. They're testing him out as an opener, I guess. So if he comes back, it's just gonna be there. I don't know what to think of this team. It doesn't remind me of 2017 because I noticed that this Yankees team, they're bunting and stealing bases and being aggressive, things that the Yankees don't do or weren't doing in 2017. And probably, I actually meant to ask you this, like, would the Yankees still be playing like this if they did have a full healthy squad of Stanton and Judge?
Right. And that's kind of what I was getting at is that, yes, I think that the reason why they're doing all these different things is because of the team that they're currently fielding. They don't have the big boppers in the lineup now. You know what I mean? The only power hitter in that lineup is Luke Voit. I think that's it, and Gary Sanchez, who's on a tear, by the way. But it's showing you it may hopefully it shows the Yankees that there are different ways to win games. You don't just have to hit the 3-run home run. Like, yes,
yeah,
go ahead from innings 1 through 6, 1 through 7, or whatever. You want to aim for the 3-run home run, go for it. But from that point on, you try to score as many runs as you can, however you can. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you need to drop a bunt and move a runner over, or try to pull the ball to the other side of the field or whatever, you got to do what you got to do. And I think that having these guys, and having DJ LeMahieu, by the way, was a huge addition, because that's his bread and butter, is contact hitting.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love watching this team, but then at the same time, I say to myself, okay, like, there's no way that Gio or Urshela is gonna hit 330 for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. And right now, I Luke Voit is like the most annoying hitter to watch. I don't know where he hits these home runs with. I mean, he has obviously the strength, but Jesus Christ, man, like, you would think this guy would be like a free agent. People would want this guy hitting free agency, yet he was in the minors, or I don't even know how the Yankees got. I don't even remember. That's how irrelevant it was the time the Yankees got him. And yeah, I mean, I don't even expect Luke Voit to be hitting like this throughout the whole year. Like, I just don't see it. But
I don't know, man. He's carried this on, and what Brian Cashman said that he saw in Luke Voit was the launch angle stuff. But even me, who's a big analytics guy, I'm not sold that that's all you need to do to be a good hitter in baseball. There's no way in hell.
No.
It helps.
Don't we see it with Christian Yelich and JD? Their launch angles are actually lower.
Yeah, Christian Yelich is a 0, I think, maybe like a 1 degree launch angle.
Damn.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we have Luke Voit on this team, and Greg Bird can't seem to stay on the field. He's hurt again this year. But yeah, hopefully these guys start coming back. Miguel Andujar is about to return sooner rather than later. It was originally thought that he was going to miss the entire season. It looks like that's not going to happen. Giancarlo Stanton's biceps are healed, but now he has a shoulder injury, so we don't know when he's going to come back. Aaron Judge is out indefinitely. We don't know when he's going to come back. Severino, who the fuck knows? You know what I mean? Like, these guys are going to have to continue to play up to this potential until those, the big guys come back, but we'll see what happens.
It's just crazy what time does, because for me, Severino is just like an afterthought at this point. I'm not even expecting him to come back this season. Is that weird?
Neither am I, because you don't hear anything from him.
And it's like the Yankees pitching can obviously use Severino. Don't get me wrong, but Paxton's
he's been a beast,
he's been beast lately, and Tanaka is still Tanaka. And this dude Domingo Germán, like,
oh my god, I traded him away. I traded him away in fantasy because he's Domingo Germán. He's not fucking,
He's Andujar of last year.
Jesus Christ. And the thing is that we were talking, I don't know if you remember that episode with Katie Sharp last year. We were talking about how he has the stuff. He just can't keep the ball in the ballpark. Well, this year he's keeping the ball in the ballpark, and he's not melting. As soon as he gets into a sign of trouble, he doesn't like fall apart on the mound. He's keeping his composure. He's using his pitches. He's striking out the entire fucking world. And I traded him away for Max Muncy like a goddamn idiot in fantasy baseball. What's wrong with me? I should have just kept him.
How's Max Muncy doing?
He hasn't been bad, but who the hell thought that Domingo Germán was going to sustain this type of pitching?
Domingo Germán for the season, 2.56 ERA, 0.85 WHIP. Manny, he's not this good. I'm sorry.
How many strikeouts?
32.
Jesus. In how many innings?
31.2.
Damn. So he's striking out.
So 9?
9, yeah.
Fuck. K per 9 is 9. Man,
whatever.
I mean, what can I say, man? You're like the Marlins.
All right, shut the fuck up.
You got good players, trade them away.
All right.
But real quick.
Yeah.
I needed to say something about, how Severino, I'm not even expecting him to come back this season. Lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say about the Yankees for Domingo Germán came to my brain.
What are your thoughts on Judge? He is on your fantasy team.
Yeah, can we get an update on Judge already?
The Yankees are, so
Come on,
I appreciate how the Yankees handle their injured players, because very rarely do you have like a player re-injure himself, a player not named Greg Bird and Jacoby Ellsbury, by the way. They take care of their players pretty good. Like if they give you a 2-week timetable, that player is going to be out for a good month, maybe even 2. They're going to make sure that player is in good shape. But they do not tell you what the fuck is happening with their players. They do not keep you informed. Like I said, I don't know what's happening with Luis Severino. I see him on the bench sometimes, and I'm like, why is he on the bench? Shouldn't he be training somewhere? Like, it's like a tease. Like you're like, oh fuck, he's coming back soon, and then you find out, oh yeah, Severino isn't even throwing off him. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
I don't know, man, but with these new gambling laws that are about gambling being legal and shit, I think we have a right to know, because I have a fantasy baseball team I have to run, and I need to know if Aaron Judge is out for the season or if he's expected to come back at some point this month, next month. I have a right to know. I wasted a second-round draft pick on him.
Yep.
He was the first pick in the second round, which means he was like almost my first pick as well. All right? So I know.
I think you're right. And it's really annoying that if you're a fantasy, if you play fantasy baseball and use ESPN, I don't know if it's the same thing with Yahoo or the other places. Sometimes you're not informed of a player being benched until like 30 minutes before the game, and like by the time you check your app, the game has started already, and you can't switch out the players. That shit is really annoying, man. I need like a solid hour, 2 hour. I can't be on my phone every 5 seconds making sure that my players are playing or not. You know what I mean?
Up until this morning, I had Starling Marte. The last thing that they said about him, April 27th, the Pirates are hopeful that he'll be able to return soon. They're gonna see if he requires a minor league rehab stint. That was 3 days ago, April 27th, and I'm looking at him like, Jesus Christ, you were on the 10-day DL. It's been 10 days already, and he's starting today. So I'm just looking at the app like, really, like. He's starting out of nowhere. He didn't need the rehab, the minor league rehab stint. But what I wanted to say, that was random. Sorry for the rant. What I wanted to say about the Yankees is the Clint Frazier injury. When he got injured, he said he's not going to the DL, that he feels fine and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then they got him an MRI, and they noticed that there was a tear in his ankle or something, in his ligament. I don't know what it was, but there was like a little slight tear. And I'm wondering, like, I think those are the injuries that we always talk about between... players today versus players back in the day where Mickey Mantle played, that those are the injuries that they would have played through. And I think they can play through them. Obviously, you always want to be cautious. I get it. But the fact that he said that he wasn't going on the IL, and then he ends up on the IL because they noticed the tear, just goes to show that I think he would have, it probably isn't even the biggest deal. Yeah. And he was willing to play through it. Mm-hmm. Yet they're going to, they're going to take all precautions and keep him off the field. But still, it's like, I think this is, we're babying these guys a little bit too much now. He was kind of willing to play through it. I think that means something. I don't know.
I agree. There was another thing to that point. I saw a couple of players this weekend get plunked and get removed from the game. But there was one instance, I can't remember who the player was, but he got plunked. He walked over to first, and he was like pretending like he wasn't feeling any pain. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell that he was in pain, but you could tell that in his mind he was thinking, if I show that I have pain here, they're gonna call the medics or whatever, the team doctors, and they're gonna take me out of this game, and I don't want to get out of this game. I think if you leave it up to the players, they'll play through it. I think it's the organizations viewing these players as an investment, but it's almost too much. You know what I mean? Like, I almost wish we could know where the line is. Like, if a player feels a slight, pull on his hamstring, he could possibly run on it. Is that the line where you let him go for it or whatever? Or, like Jeter used to get hurt. Jeter used to play hurt all the time. Why wasn't he pulled out of games? You know what I mean? Like,
hamstrings to me are like a little bit serious, because if you strain your hamstring, it can be anywhere from a month to 2 months, let's say, right? So hamstrings that take and the only thing you need to fix that, if it's like you feel something, is you just got to not do anything. Just lay off of it. Don't do anything. And the thing about baseball, people say that it's one of those sports that you don't really do any, crazy movements, but when the ball's coming at you, and I know I've never played anywhere near the pro level, right? But when I pulled my hamstring, I was told to wait about 2 weeks before I started playing, at least. I waited a week. I felt kind of okay. I was like, I'm just not going to force it. Like, I'm just not going to do anything crazy. But and I played first, and when one of our teammates threw the ball a little bit awkwardly, I didn't even think. My first instinct was to just reach out and get it, and I ended up pulling it again. So, that's why I think hamstrings are a little bit more serious. But the ankle thing, I feel like if he has a little bit of a brace in to kind of support him, he would have been okay. And
well,
I don't know how serious
just think about
it was,
football players. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you have football players playing on like broken ankles. They just tape their shit up.
And I understand you look at these guys as investments, but the investment is so they could be on the field and help you win. I'm pretty sure a Clint Frazier with a minor ankle sprain can help a Yankees team that has 14, 15 players on the DL right now, Mm-hmm. So it's like, I know what you mean, though.
I agree. Yeah, the hamstring was a bad example. Maybe, like, I don't know. Here's an exaggeration. It seems like in baseball, they pull players out if they feel like their pinky fucking itches or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's any little ailment in these players, they're pulling them out. And I think that's why people get frustrated with players like Jacoby Ellsbury and even Greg Bird, for that matter. Even though Greg Bird's latest injury, it's a foot issue. I understand, like, he can't play through that. But sometimes it feels like some players, if they feel something odd, they're pulling themselves out of games. But I don't think that's most players. That's talking about Jacoby Ellsbury. I think most players want to play through injury. Even Aaron Judge, when he pulled his what the fuck was it? His what?
Something in his abdomen.
You could tell he felt it in the moment, and he like jotted to first, kind of like, oh fuck, man, like they're gonna pull me out of this game now. But
you know who I always think of? Yeah. I always think of Aaron Sanchez from the Blue Jays. He's always
with the splinters.
He's always missing time because of something, a blister on his finger, something, and blisters and splinters, whatever it is. It's something with his finger, hangnail that's on the way or something. And I'm thinking it's him. For him, I kind of think guys like him and Jacoby Ellsbury are off the field because they don't want to play through it, type of shit. Because if I was Jacoby Ellsbury at this point, I would lie on every test to get on the field because there's nothing, like, I need to redeem myself for I'm robbing the Yankees blind all these years already,
Yeah, man.
So I don't know.
I honestly, like, with Jacoby Ellsbury, the longer he stays on the DL, the more it benefits the Yankees, because as long as he doesn't step on the field, 75% of his salary gets paid by insurance. But for his own sake, like, how does a player like that show his face again? You know what I mean? Like, I'd be ashamed.
Yeah, like, what reaction would he get if he stepped up to the plate?
Oh my God, I don't even know at this point. The last time I saw him, I think, was in 2017 in the not even the postseason. It was like one of the last series. Was he in the postseason roster?
Yeah, he was. The year that you guys went, 2017. I think he was. He was splitting time with. I think he even stole home in one game during last season. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I haven't even seen Jacoby Ellsbury like anywhere near the dugout.
No, man.
For like a year.
I wish a player would be honest with what they felt about Ellsbury, because I'm pretty sure they have to talk shit about that guy in the dugout.
Yeah.
Tonight, CC Sabathia notched his 3,000th strikeout against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He becomes only the 17th pitcher ever to do it. CT. Among those pitchers are Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens. These are guys that we know and saw. Pedro Martinez, Curt Schilling, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, among other greats. And then, so I was doing something on this earlier today because I wanted to write something for Call to the Pen tomorrow. And of those 17, now that CC Sabathia is a part of the list, Curt Schilling isn't on the Hall of Fame. Bert Blyleven isn't in the Hall of Fame, and Roger Clemens isn't in the Hall of Fame. With Roger Clemens, I understand the whole PED thing. If it wasn't for that, he'd be in 100%. With Curt Schilling, I've always said that I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer. But after looking at CC's numbers and comparing them to Curt Schilling, I've kind of changed my tune on that because I feel like CC is Hall of Fame worthy. There's a difference between them two, though. I'm getting really dorky on here with you, CT. But the one that baffles me is Bert Blyleven. Now, I never watched this guy play. I could barely say his name. But listen to this shit, and he's not a Hall of Famer. He has 3,701 strikeouts. This is getting really dorky. That ranks 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth all time. He has 287 wins. If you're a person that counts wins, and a 331
I do.
lifetime. Yeah, I know you do. Lifetime ERA. How is he not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. Maybe he was never the best pitcher in his time. You know, I would have to look at who else was around that time. I always thought Christian was a Hall.
He has the second worst win-loss percentage in that list. Nolan Ryan has the worst.
Win-loss percentage.
Yeah. But he doesn't have the worst. He doesn't have the worst ERA. He has more wins than
3,700 strikeouts.
That should be automatic Hall of Fame. How is this guy not a Hall of Famer?
I don't know. That's a weird. I would have to look at his career and see what was going on. But if he's not in the Hall of Fame, that's kind of dumb. He's fifth on the list.
Yeah,
he's gonna be there for a while too. I mean,
and if you count wins. In that list, this isn't all time. I'm not going to look at the wins list because fucking Cy Young has like 500 and something wins. It's a joke. He has more wins than the following Hall of Famers. He has more wins than Fergie Jenkins, Bob Gibson, Pedro Martinez, and John Smoltz. So how if
at
those
a time where wins were bigger,
and he has more strikeouts than those guys. So I don't really understand. I mean, he has a lot of losses, but like I said. What's this guy's name? Nolan Ryan has a worse win-loss percentage. So
yeah,
when I was doing this research, I was very confused, and I wanted to throw that out there. But anyway, this is about CC Sabathia, guys. So here's why I think CC is a Hall of Famer. I think he's a Hall of Famer because I'm totally gonna go against what I believe in here, but in looking at his stats, none of his stats stand out among the rest of these guys. Like. He does have the worst ERA out of all of them. He does have the worst FIP out of all of them, and he's going to be at the bottom of the list in strikeouts. By the end of the season, he could pass Curt Schilling and John Smoltz, so he might end up being ahead of them in strikeouts. But the difference between CC Sabathia and most of the other pitchers, believe it or not, CT, is his win-loss percentage. He has 617 win-loss percentage, and that ranks fourth among all of these pitchers. Mm-hmm. And I think that, as much as I'm the kill the win guy and all that stuff, I think it counts for something. And I think that over the last couple years, I know you're going to kill me for this. I warned you in the beginning of the episode. For the last couple years, CC Sabathia has owned a reputation for being a stopper. Like if you look at his stats after a loss, he's automatic. I think he's undefeated. Maybe he's lost one game in like 3 years or something like that. And he has like a stellar ERA, stellar FIP, a great strikeout ratio, all that stuff. And I think to me, that's the ultimate argument against my kill the win argument is that in this sample size, in a 400 game sample size, it seems like CC Sabathia is the type of pitcher that can will his team to a win, despite not having the greatest stats, just being the type of pitcher that he is. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the win stat, and I don't mind that pitchers get a win or loss tacked onto their starting pitching. I've always said relief pitching is stupid to even count it at this point, but starting pitching to me is like they move the game. They throw the ball. The game doesn't move forward without the pitcher, and they have a bigger role on the field than anybody else. You know? And if you're a pitcher like CC Sabathia that's shutting out the other lineup, then I feel like your impact to the game is bigger than anyone at that point. Unless your entire team goes, up and just hits a home run every at bat, which doesn't even really happen ever. It never happens. So that's why I always thought the win and loss thing kind of makes sense to me. It's not a perfect stat. It makes sense to me. Just think the pitchers hold a bigger weight than any other player on a baseball team.
So you're not going to kill me. Thank God.
Nah.
You sure? I kind of feel like I deserve to get killed.
You found your way back.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not sold. I'm just saying.
I know.
Yeah, let's not go there, please. But yeah, and for me, that's the difference between Kurt Schilling and CC Sabathia, is that you can think of games where CC Sabathia almost single-handedly carried his team. Like, you think about that Milwaukee Brewer team in 2008. Do you remember that by any chance?
Yeah.
He was traded by the Cleveland Indians to the Milwaukee Brewers at the trade deadline. He made like 17 starts for the Brewers, and I think he completed like 10 of those games. His ERA was like 1.2 something. His WHIP was like sub 1. He was hitting home runs. He was like single-handedly carried that team into the postseason. And you kind of look back at his career as a Yankee, and you kind of, in my mind, I'm trying to think of what was the most disappointing moment for CC, for me, in terms of CC Sabathia. And I think it was that time where he ducked out on the team to go to rehab. And even that was him taking care of himself. You know what I mean? Like, I can't kill him for
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
You know, like, he's never killed the team, if you think about it. Like, he's been bad at times, but
that's what I'm saying about the Hall of Fame. Like, yeah, CC, nothing jumps out at you, but isn't that the type of player that you want on a team, a pitcher like that?
I love CC, man. I love him to death.
That was a presence in the clubhouse. Always took care of, like, the younger players to the veteran players. Like, I don't think he was ever too big to, stick up for. I remember last year he pegged that one guy.
Yeah, that was
what
great.
Game was that? Where he all he needed to do was he needed to complete that inning to get that 500,000.
He had one out left, and he decided to plunk the guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean about the Hall of Fame. Like, he's played for this long. He has he has a good amount of milestone records in his career. He's won a championship and everything. So yeah, like, that's, to me, that's the definition of Hall of Fame: longevity. And what type of player was he? And CC was that type of player. So if he doesn't get in, I'd be kind of shocked if he doesn't get in.
Yeah. And he's 98 strikeouts. Well, no, he got his 3,000, so he'll be under 95. I can't do my math right now because technically it hasn't happened yet. We're pretending like it did. But entering tonight's game, he was 98 away from John Smoltz and 130 away from Kurt Schilling. So if he stays healthy, it's possible that he could. Oh, and wait, I can't do my math. 131 away from Bob Gibson. So he could be, what's that? What would that be? Like 11th all time in strikeouts. So, I mean, that's impressive, man. But this Burt Blyleven thing, we're gonna have to do an episode on Burt Blyleven.
Yeah, like an X-Files episode.
Yeah.
I think CC's only the third lefty too, right?
Wow.
So that alone, third lefty to get 3,000. So that alone, that just goes to show. Man. The history of baseball. More than 150 years. And
this is his last season, man. So what a way to bow out. I hope that he passes at least Smoltz and just gets like a notch ahead of one of these guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Another argument to get into the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah. I think he deserves it. You know what? And I think I'll retract. I know Kurt Schilling's politics and shit annoy me to death, and he can't keep his mouth shut. And some of the stuff he posts on social media are like indefensible or disgusting. And most importantly, he killed my team in postseason play. Beat the Yankees in the World Series in 2001. Was a part of the 04. Was he a part of the 04 team? Yeah, he was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bloody sock. Damn it. But yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame too. This is a long ass episode. Let's finish it off with this. We got to give your team some love real quick. Okay. Or not some love. We need to study I want to do a quick case study on the Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
So currently they're what? They're 11.
Don't hold back.
They're 11-17, right, or something like that.
The Red Sox are currently, they will be 13-17 if they win this game, which they're winning right now.
Okay,
5-0 to Oakland. Sixth inning. Rick Porcello.
Nice.
On the mound.
Ooh, Oakland is struggling.
We're back.
Anyway, so entering today, I collected some stats and I wanted to do a quick comparison. So it's clear that last year what pulled you guys into the postseason and won you guys a World Series was your offense. You guys ranked 1 in just about everything. You ranked first in batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage, WOBA.
Not home runs.
I think in runs scored you ranked.
Runs scored, we were first, yeah, by like a good margin, I think.
Yeah. And you were third in weighted runs created plus. And then this year you're 20th, or you're ranking 20th or less or more. I mean, like 20th or higher. By higher, I mean like you're not doing good. That's confusing. Mm-hmm. In all of those categories except for on base percentage. So you're not scoring, you're not creating runs, you're not scoring enough runs. It's not just the pitching, guys. Then you look at the pitching, and it's even worse. Your ERA last season was 3.75. Your ERA this season is 5.14. Your FIP was 3.82 last year. It's 4.63 this year. Your WHIP was 1.25 last year, which is where you want to be. That's perfect. Your WHIP is 1.43 this year. The strikeouts have been good. You're striking out more batters than you were last year. Your K per 9 is 9.76 this year. It was 9.61 last year. This is, I think, for me, this is where your killer is your walks. You're walking one more batter per 9 than you were last year. That's one more base runner per game. One more opportunity for the opposition to score runs against you guys. You ranked 23rd in walks per 9 with 4.01. Last year you were 3.16. So the whole team is in disarray right now. Like, I know that we exaggerate sometimes, and we live in the generation of the greatest of all time and all this shit. We talk about greatest of all time, like it's fucking, and not, like we're talking about Cheerios or whatever the fuck. I don't know what the expression is. But is this like the worst stretch you've seen from this team in I would say like 2 decades? I mean, I can't remember the last time the Red Sox were this bad.
2012, I think, was a season we were horrible. It was that season where we were in first place going into September, and I think from like August to the end of September, we did so bad that we actually missed the playoffs. So that might be the worst stretch that I'm thinking of. But I know the next season we came back and won it. Yeah, 2012 we finished 69 and 93.
Wow.
Finished 5th, last place.
And then you have a guy like Chris Sale, who was atrocious to start the year, but over his last 2 starts, the one against the Yankees, his velocity was back, and then his most recent start, I can't remember who it was against. Was it Toronto or
Chris Sale?
Yeah.
Might have been Tampa Bay. Yeah, it was Tampa Bay.
He only allowed 2 runs in 7 innings. It seems like Chris Sale has found his groove, but his confidence, man, I've never seen this guy be so negative. Like, he's saying that he sucks. He's never pitched like this. He stinks. Like, he's just like, with like, what's going on here? And I'm not trying to troll, but last year Cora was praised as some sort of, genius manager.
He is.
But this year it seems like his team is just like this, like, I mean, falling apart.
I think it's still only April. Today's the second to last day of April, or last day of April, whatever. It's still early in the season. I still think the Red Sox team is going to bounce back. Mm-hmm. And don't ever disrespect Cora again, man. Because
I'm not trying to.
I know. I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ.
Real quick, I don't know what year it was that the Red Sox were in first place. And going into the last week of August, we not only didn't we not make the playoffs, but we didn't even like win the wild card, nothing. Mm-hmm. That had to be 2000. I feel like it was 2012, but our record that year was horrible. So we would have never even been in playoff contention. But I remember the Rays snuck themselves in. I think it might have been the Orioles. I don't know.
Was it 08 then? 08? Isn't that when the Rays went to the World Series?
Yes.
Or not.
I believe so.
Or not.
Don't remember. But yeah, that might have been the worst stretch. And yeah, 2012 was a bad year as well. But we won it the next year. So
Okay.
Turn it around.
And what concerns me about the Boston Red Sox, and by concern I mean what gets me excited because it means that they might continue to lose games, is that their weakest part of the team, their supposed weakest part of the team, has been one of their strengths so far. So, like, when all these guys, And by the way, Xander Bogaerts is a fucking like. I wish he hadn't signed that extension so that we could just
he's starting to heat up.
Yeah, man, he's good. And so is Mookie too, by the way. Is when the rest of the team starts, and David Price has been good too. I'm sorry, I have like ADD today.
Keep going, man. Please.
God, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, when all these guys start clicking. What's gonna happen when the bullpen starts falling apart? What's gonna happen when Brazier starts playing like Brazier's supposed to play? You know what I'm saying?
I think we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, the way that we're playing this game right now, Rick Porcello is shutting the Oakland A's down. Mm-hmm. We have 5 runs in 6 innings. I think we're gonna start turning it around.
That should be enough to win. Yeah.
Yeah, that should be enough to win. If we start losing games like this, then yeah, it's over. Even if I don't care what time of the year it is. If we start losing games, winning 5-0 in the 6th inning, if we can't close this game out, then we don't belong anywhere near the playoffs. Quick side note: Mookie Betts, fewest games needed to reach 500 runs scored.
Wow.
Active players:
He's
number
incredible.
Number one Albert Pujols, 629 games. Number 2 Mookie Betts, 674, and third is Mike Trout, 690.
He beat Mike Trout on one thing.
Yes.
Scoring runs.
He also got the MVP last year, which he beat Mike Trout in.
Truth. Which, by the way, if Trout had been healthy the whole year, he might,
We don't know that for a fact. Back to you.
Okay. All right. Last thing on the Red Sox, and then we did not talk about the rest of Major League Baseball, and we're not going to. And if you don't like it, tough shit.
Maybe we can give like a quick shout out to the players that are killing it right now.
All right.
At the end.
Okay. Dustin Pedroia, man. Do you think it's time for Pedroia to hang it up and just call it a day, man? I mean,
yeah. Sadly, I do. He looks slow. He looks old. I mean, I don't want the Red Sox to cut him.
Yeah.
But don't play him.
So here's one thing, and again, fans, I'm a Yankees fan. Full disclosure. So this is gonna sound like a Yankees fan bashing a Red Sox hero. But like Dustin Pedroia is the kind of player that every team wants. And it's not because he's naturally talented. I don't think he's the best player. Like when you look at him playing stuff, you're just like how does he do it? It doesn't look nice, Like with Robinson Cano, things look easy. He's easily the best player on many teams in Major League Baseball. With Mike Trout, clearly the best player in baseball. With Mookie Betts, clearly the best player in the Boston Red Sox, and probably Mike Trout's B or whatever you want to call it. With Dustin Pedroia, you could tell that this is all just really hard work and passion. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to say that as a slight to Dustin Pedroia. He reminds me a lot of Derek Jeter, except that I think even Jeter had a little bit more talent than Dustin Pedroia does. But this guy just has nonstop heart, man. And it sucks to see that this is how his career is going to end, but I kind of hope that he just decides that enough is enough, because what he's putting out on the field is just, you don't want to remember him that way.
Nah, yeah, and it's not even like the David Wright thing. You know how David Wright tried to keep coming back from injury and he just couldn't do it? Because even David Wright was a monster at one point for the Mets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like, Dustin Pedroia is the kind of guy that you always want on your team. And it looked like he couldn't have been anything else besides a Boston Red Sox player.
I agree.
Perfect for that organization. And I would, it sucks. That's just the way it is. Not every hero in baseball or in any sport that you watch is gonna have the happy ending that you always see, like the Peyton Manning ending and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
But that's just the way it is. But I'm obviously grateful for having him to begin with. So
need a box of tissues, man.
Nah, I didn't cry at all when I watched stuff. I never really cry. I'm sorry.
So I actually wrote something on Call to the Pen, acknowledging who I thought were the best players of Week 4, and there were some surprising players on there. So first of all, Christian Yelich had a big drop off last week, and he also got hurt. He has a back issue. I'm not sure if he's back on the field or not. CT, do you have any word on that?
Christian Yelich is not on the field today. No,
not on the field today. So he remains experiencing back issues. That's not good. But some guys that stood out were Eduardo Escobar, and not just because he's on my team now. I picked him up on fantasy last week, even though it didn't matter because I lost again. But he's raking this past week. Who else was a big standout?
Yeah, Eduardo Escobar, I drafted him and I held on to him, but his power was not there. He wasn't even getting hits. I drop him, and now he's producing. So
yeah,
good pickup, Manny.
Thank you. Thank you for dropping him.
I ain't mad at you.
Cody Bellinger.
My team would have been pretty good right now if I never dropped him though.
Oh my god, yeah. He gave me like 2 straight days of like 15 points or something like that, which was much needed. What else? Albert Pujols. Cody Bellinger has been raking still. He's still hitting over 400. He's still hitting homers. If he hits a home run tonight, he's gonna be the player with the most home runs before May 1st. He's at 14 right now.
I think he's already the player with 35 RBIs, fastest or something. Yeah. Something about the RBIs.
He's out of this world right now. Albert Pujols. Last week we talked about how he passed Babe Ruth. Well, this week he passed Barry Bonds and Lou Gehrig, so he's I think third all time on the RBI list. He has He can pass Alex Rodriguez. He might pass him this year. How many RBIs does he have? He could pass him this year. A-Rod has 2086, and then the only person left is Hank Aaron. I don't know if that's going to happen. He needs 300 to tie Hank Aaron. He does have 2 more years after this, so it could happen. But I don't know, man. Fat Albert's he's getting old.
Yeah.
It would be amazing to see somebody. When was the last time we saw somebody break like an all-time record?
An all-time record? Let me think about this.
Is it Barry Bonds?
All-time record. I mean, A-Rod has the all-time record of Grand Slams.
That's not as exciting,
does that count?
Though.
I mean, you're right. It's not. But when you look at, I think Gary Sanchez hit his first Grand Slam the other day.
Yeah, you know? I don't know.
But you're right. That's not as exciting. Let me think. You know what was the last time when Randy Johnson became third or second, and then Roger Clemens became second, and then Randy Johnson passed him, or vice versa in strikeouts? I don't know if you remember that.
I do not remember that, but you know what I'm going to do right now, CT, is I'm going to sort this spreadsheet because I am a dork, and I'm going to tell you that Randy Johnson is second all-time. So it was Randy Johnson passing Roger Clemens.
Yeah. It should have been Roger Clemens, and then shortly after, I think Randy Johnson passed him. But besides that, wow. Has there really never been an all-time record in our lifetime?
I think Barry Bonds has to be the last one. When he passed
you're right.
Hank Aaron.
Oh, yeah, duh. Yeah, wow.
I can't think of one.
Single season him, and then before that, Mark McGwire.
I mean, Ichiro passed Pete Rose, but that's counting the Japan stats.
Well, Ichiro also, in his rookie year, got the single season hits record.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. But that's a single season record. I mean, I think that's a good one. That's a really good one to see. But an all time, this is like all encompassing. He could possibly do it in his last year. That would be awesome to see, I think.
Yeah, that would. Maybe that's what the Angels signed him for.
Yeah, imagine. Let me see.
You're gonna roll him out there in a wheelchair by the end.
He'll be 64 by that point. I make myself laugh. Who else is raking? We should make this a segment. Who's raking? Nice. This is like Mike Francesa when there's silence. Eric Sogard, man, he was a beast last week. You don't even know who the fuck I'm talking about, right?
He's on the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
He just came out of nowhere, man. I don't know. Averaging 5 points. Last I checked, he was averaging 5 points in fantasy and only owned by like 2% of the league.
Jesus. Wow. Yeah. So last week he was raking. He's gonna come back to earth though. These balls are definitely juiced.
The balls are juiced. I don't care. Oh, shout out to Vlad Jr.
Yeah, Vlad. Wow. How did we not talk about Vlad Jr.?
Because like the weekend. All the way. By the way, I hope Vlad Jr. turns out to be, and I said this in a voice note in our chat, and I hope Vlad Jr. turns out to be everything that he's supposed to be. I love seeing Vladimir Guerrero on TV again because he was like my second favorite player behind A-Rod. Actually, I would say third behind A-Rod, Pedro, then Vlad. He's up there, by the way, for players that I looked up to. So I love all that. But they gave the drive in Vlad's first game. They gave the drive of the game to his batting practice home run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't like things to be shoved down my throat.
Right.
Like let me appreciate Vlad. I already know he's this highly touted prospect, but you guys had to give him the drive of the game, and it didn't even happen in the game. I've never seen that before.
When they hype a player up, they don't know when to stop. The Vlad Guerrero Jr. hype last week was out of control, man. Like, and
yeah.
you know what? I don't like that our culture builds people up to shoot them right down. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But it was like overkill, man. Like they were making it out to be like Babe Ruth resurrected from the dead and was coming up to bat. Like, it was insane. It was, and I'm not gonna lie, I watched it. I watched every one of his at bats in the first game. I
watched the whole game.
I fed into the hype. I kept switching back and forth. But it was it was way too much, man. Like,
no, and you know what's random as well too, and I know it's the playoffs and stuff, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has never been to a Toronto Raptors game up until that day, until the day after he debuted. He had his debut.
Well,
did
MLB
restrict him?
Where does Toronto's minor league team play?
I don't know where they play. I don't know where they play, but he's been in that organization since he was 16.
Yeah.
He hasn't never been to, like, in the last 2 years, he's never been to a Raptors game or something. Am I making sense? I feel like he had his debut, and then the next day he's in Toronto, and now he's taking pictures with Drake. It's like, did MLB restrict him from making an appearance anywhere in the public until he made his debut?
It might be that the hype was so big that the Toronto Raptors are like, come out to the game so we could get the fans to tune in or whatever. So maybe it was something like that.
That makes way more sense than what I'm getting at.
I'm sorry.
But anyways, I love the Vlad hype because it's big for DR. It's big for a player that I grew up, watching a lot. And I love it. And it's a new wave of talent, especially for Dominicans, Fernando Tatis and Vlad Guerrero, Eloy Jimenez. It's just a new wave of talent that I hope they turn out to be everything.
Me too, man.
And I think they are going to turn out to be pretty great because in sports, it always happens like in bunches, right? Like Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto get called up in the same year and they just take over the league as rookies type of shit,
Yeah.
So I love it. But even another example, the next day, and I think this got turned into an error at the end of the game. But he got a ball up the middle. It was clear an error, and they gave him a hit. Stuff like that is like what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's too much. And not only that, but every time he gets on base, they just take him. They don't let him run. Have you noticed that?
No, I have not noticed that. I only watched that first game.
Yeah,
then the highlights of the second game.
He's been pinch run for a couple times. I don't know. I mean, do you really have the analytics on that? Like, come on, just let him run the bases. Anyway, the other person I wanted to give some love to was Jose Abreu. Broke out of his slump last week, and he hit his 150th home run of his career. So that was a good one. And I think there was Eduardo Escobar was the player of the week for me and called to the pen.
I'll tell you who's not the player of the week.
Who?
Chris Davis with the K.
Oh,
going through a gigantic slump right now. He's become the new Joey Gallo. Except that he hasn't hit a home run since like April 13.
Hasn't he always been kind of like Joey Gallo though? I had him in my fantasy team a couple years ago, and he was either hit or miss.
Nah, I mean Chris Davis was consistent with home runs and RBIs. I feel like Joey Gallo literally was. He had more home runs than hits last year. More home runs than singles, whatever the stat was.
Yeah,
I don't think Chris Davis was that type of hitter. He is in the Joey Gallo,
No, I mean
category.
nobody's in. Yeah, I know what you mean, but nobody's in Joey Gallo's category. That guy's,
And if you've seen Joey Gallo lately, he is hitting for contact more now. He's not just hitting home runs anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of Chris Davis, this one with a C, since breaking out of that slump, he's been raking. He doesn't play every day anymore. I think they platoon him or whatever. But when he's on the field, it seems like now he has luck in his side. I don't know if you saw. I think it was yesterday. He hit this like shallow pop fly to left, and it was an automatic out, and the fielder just completely overplayed it, and he got the hit for it. Like now he's just finding hits. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that kind of it's that kind of year. I'm happy to see it, but I do have a theory about Chris Davis. You want to hear my theory real quick?
Sure.
Do you remember? And then we're gonna end it because this is a long ass episode. Do you remember a few years ago he was busted for Adderall?
Oh yeah.
So was
methamphetamines. Wasn't it methamphetamines?
I think it was
the greenies.
Pretty sure it was Adderall.
Yeah, it was Adderall. It was Adderalls, and at one point the amphetamines, the greenies.
You might be right. I don't remember. It was one of those uppers, and prior to getting popped, he was okay. He was striking out a lot, but he was hitting home runs and stuff. After he got popped, he completely sucked. Here's my theory, CT. I wish we had that Welcome to the Show conspiracy theory song. We do somewhere. I'm not going to look for it. But is he back on Adderall?
Probably. He probably never got off it, man.
I think maybe he did get off it because he got suspended and shit. And maybe he's just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm taking Adderall. Like, what do I have to lose?
It can't get any worse. People already hate me. Like, I suck.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my thing. I would like if I'm an MLB. Okay. If I'm one of those MLB players, like, what's this guy the Yankees called up? He was like 11 years in the minors, Ford?
Yeah, Mike Ford, yeah.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd take something at this point.
Just get me up there.
Get me up there. Let me take something. Let me see if I can sign a quick 2-year deal, $10 million. Let me set myself up for the next couple of years.
Yeah, man.
I would do it. If that's the way my career turned out.
I mean, look at Melky Cabrera, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
his career is built relevant. On. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if he didn't take PEDs, maybe potentially he still would have been a decent player. But clearly, he took off in that season with the San Francisco Giants. He was hitting like 400. I think it was like at the All-Star break. He was close to 400. That's the season he got popped for steroids. Maybe it was the Biogenesis year too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was.
And he ended up getting a monster contract, and he gets signed every single year to a decent, multi-million-dollar contract. And his career is basically based off of steroids. And by the way, he has probably the most ridiculous trying to lie about using steroids story, even worse than Ryan Braun's.
I think that one was so dumb I forgot what it was. What was it again?
He made up a fake product in a fake website.
Oh yeah.
And he said that he bought it from this website or whatever. And it was just he got caught. Like it was clear that he had set up the whole thing. It was just like that's tip like I could see a Dominican dude do that. As a Dominican, I could see a Dominican dude say, pero espérate, hay un truquito aquí. All you have to do is, put up a website. We'll say that we bought it from that. My doctor told me to buy it from this website. And you could definitely find a doctor in DR that's going to, do the scheme with you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, definitely, man. I got one last question for you, and then let's end it. Will we see Bartolo Colon pitch this season in the majors?
Here's all I'm going to say. If Dallas Keuchel doesn't have a job, neither should Bartolo Colon.
All right.
That's where I'm going to leave it at. I get so fucking pissed how people love this Bartolo Colon, and he wasn't embroiled in the same, controversies all these other dudes. Yeah. But I'm pissed. They consider him like this cute little chubby, whatever the fuck.
I'm pissed because of like how other players are compared to him, but I'm not pissed because I like Bartolo Colon in the same breath,
Yeah.
But I know what you mean, man.
I'm sorry, man. I get a little emotional sometimes.
Welcome to the show.
Play ball. Where we play ball, here we go. All right, let's sign off here. All right, the Welcome to the Show podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a 30-day free trial and an free audiobook download. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. And I wanted to add one more thing that I should have said at the beginning of the episode. It would really be helpful if you're listening to this right now, if you dropped us a rating and a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps our podcast get noticed by more people. And yeah, that's all I have to say. CT.
Peace out.
Peace.